Hai, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Elin Balkis binti Ismail and I'm from class 801105.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Latifah Zali. I am one of partner of this group.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Afiq Rambi Asmawi.
Hello, my name is Hairizal anak laki Safri.
Hello, Assalamualaikum. My name is Dene Ikhwan bin Muhammad Rasti. I'm from 81105A. Today, I want to talk about the chapter 6 of NIC. So, which is in this chapter, we will discuss about the definition of listening, 5 stages and skill of listening, major barrier of listening, 4 style of listening, and culture and gender of listening. So, what is the process of receiving, understanding, remembering, evaluating, and responding to the verbal message and non-verbal message? What is the verbal message and non-verbal message? The verbal message is what the other people said and what the other people write. And non-verbal message is the opposite meaning of the verbal message. So, listening is never be easy. There are many problems of listening, such as poor logical thought, incorrect action, misunderstanding, attention lapses. And listening is not the method of moving an idea from a speaker mind to the listener mind, which will become apparent in the subsequent discussion in the 5 stages. Instead, it is a mechanism in which speaker and listener collaborate together to obtain a mutual understanding. And next, the listening also different from obeying. A person who receive and understand information or an instruction and then chooses not to comply with it or not to agree to it, has listened to the speaker even though the result is not the speaker wants. Listening is a term in which the listener listens to the one who produces the sound. Semiotical, the listener. Roland Barthes categorized the distinction between listening and hearing. And lastly, listening is done by choice. It is interpretative action taken by someone in order to understand and potentially make meaning of someone they hear.
Now I would like to continue the presentation, which is 5 stage and skill for improving listening. Okay, for the first stage is receiving. It can be defined as when we hear or attend some message that we receive. When we receive the message, we need to focus what message that we have received, neither verbal or non-verbal message. It also can be occur both, which is verbal or non-verbal. Then, in receiving, we should avoid the distraction that disturb to listen. Okay, for example, your friend is telling the sad story, but you keep playing phone and not listen to your friend. Next, we must respond to disclaimer, including hedging, cognitive disclaimer, and appeal for the suspension of judgment. The second stage is understanding. When we listen the message, of course we will understand the point that we hear. For example, when you just understand, please avoid that you assume what you understand. However, please asking a question when you understanding what message that you hear. Last, please paraphrase what you understand. Next is third stage, which is remembering. It's recalling what you hear in memory. Memory is reconstructive, not reproductive. When we want to pass the information from short-term to long-term memory, can use 4 suggestions. For example, focus, organize, united, and repeat. The fourth stage is evaluating. Evaluating is reading the message critically and sometimes judging the message. For evaluate, we usually distinguish the fact from opinion. That we also do in daily life. The last stage, which is the fifth stage, is responding. It is what we answer or give the feedback to the speaker. Please keep focus on other person to ensure giving a good response. I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, next we move to a major barrier of listening. Okay, we have 6 factors in major barrier of listening. Okay, the first factor is physical and mental distraction. After that, the second one, we have bias and prejudice. Then we have racist, heterosexist, ageist, and sexist listening. And the number 4, we have lack of appropriate focus. Then we have premature judgment. And lastly, we have hearing impairment. Okay, the first one we can look about the physical and mental distraction. It's about our mental about the listening. After that, we move to bias and prejudice. Okay, to avoid bias and prejudice when listening, we need to be willing to subject bias and prejudice to contradictory information. Okay, after that, we have a type of bias like close-mindedness. Okay, after that, we move to the lack of appropriate focus. Okay, to avoid appropriate focus, we need to avoid focusing on irrelevancy. Okay, after that, we must do not anticipate your response while the speaker is still speaking. Okay, for example, when we have listening from teacher, we cannot speak when the teacher still speaking. Okay, after that, we go to premature judgment. Okay, in premature judgment, we do not assume you know what the speaker is going to say. So, make sure we refresh our mind, to zero our mind, and get focus to the lecturer, to the anyone want to speak with us. Okay, then we do not draw conclusion on incomplete evidence. Okay, then we cannot do a conclusion when anyone want to speak until end. We cannot do a conclusion in our mind. Okay, then in hearing impairment.
Fourth style of listening is first, empathic listening. Empathic listening requires empathy and help you feel what someone else is feeling. It can enhance your relationship. Empathic listening is like share their feelings. In example, when she said, it can be sad, and if she happy, it can be happy. So as recommendation, first see from the speaker's point of view and then engage in equal two-way conversation for not to quarrel. Second, polite listening. Polite listening requires of both speaker and listener. For recommendation, first, avoid interrupting the speaker, give supportive listening cues, and show empathy with the speaker. And then maintain eye contact. And lastly, give positive feedback because if they are sad or happy. Third, critical listening. So, critical listening helps in evaluating or analysis. It also can involve thinking logically and dispassionately. So, for the recommendation or the ways to do this critical listening is first, keep an open-minded, recognize your own bias, watch out for language fallacies, and combat the tendency to sharpen this easy to judgmental people. The last style of listening is active listening. So, active listening is involved sending back to the speaker in what you, as a listener, think the speaker mean. It's like give feedback because to pay attention. And the function of this active listening is to check understanding and also encourage the speaker to explore his or her feeling and thoughts. And for the technique is, first paraphrase the speaker's meaning, ask questions, and express understanding.
In this video, I want to explain about the cultural, gender, and listening. The cultures and listening, when the speaker, we have the same, the different meanings for words. Even we speak same language. For example, the words of like and likes. It's same language, but it different meanings. The second is essence and the pitch of differences may be puzzling the listeners. For each countries, it have different essence, and the display rules depend on different cultures. However, in listening, also non-verbal gestures can have different meanings in each cultures. For example, in US, they give direct feedback, but in Korean and Japan, they give a positive feedback, but it's different on some cultures. For gender, women as usually like to give more attention of listening cues, but men are more likely to listen quietly. In a conclusion, there teach us a lot of definition of listening, 5 stages of listening, and the skills how to improve better of listening for every stages. However, the major barriers also need to highlight because it is for effective listening. In addition, in this chapter also describe of 4 styles listening, also the differences of culture and gender in listening. So that's all from us for chapter 6 is listening. Thank you.